Go back to your sewer. You're not welcome here in Charlottesville.
There's a group of white supremacists going into the near Emancipation Park.
You can do it. Be strong.
Hey, yo, we was tanks and shit. Get the fuck out. Fuck all y'all. I don't need that shit. Get the fuck out. Fuck all y'all. We'll come for that shit. Fuck y'all.
We go around the back way towards Justice Park. So we're moving towards Justice Park, where there are a group of people gathering. If you're watching the Defend Civil stream, there are other streams at Justice Park right now, so we will link up with them when we get there. But right now there was about 35, 40 white supremacists descending near the park, where people are peacefully protesting and peacefully gathering to resist white supremacy. And so folks were moving to intimidate from afar, and you see folks here peacefully resisting white supremacist hate. These are, you have to be courageous to come together in an act of collective resistance, and we see that today. Charlottesville is resisting en masse, and it's really heartening to see all these courageous residents out here to defend and to endorse our values in opposition to white supremacist ideology. So we're approaching a corner where there are people waving Confederate flags. You can see there's about 70 people descending down on Justice Park.
A lot of nice things. I gotta say something.
I didn't know that I
USA! No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA! We are home. It's America. Jesus Christ said sodomites will be judged with hellfire. No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA!
And you can hear the resistance peacefully protesting the
Is it wrong to love your own? We're not listening to you. Why not? Is it wrong to love your own? Is it wrong to be a part of your heritage? You don't love your own, man. What's wrong with that? You don't love your own.
No KKK, no fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA! No Trump!
It's a group of 50, it's a group of about 10 to 15 counter-protesters with a megaphone saying no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. People are resisting en masse and peacefully while white supremacists are attempting to enter into Lee Park, into Emancipation Park. We're at 2nd Street and East Jefferson Street, where there is a bottleneck of folks. It looks like white supremacists are entering the park right now, and we see folks here.
No KKK, no fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK, no fascist USA! No
There's a police helicopter above head.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no
They have homemade riot gear. You can see the militant nature of the assembly with non-violent protesters peacefully achieving the right to resist.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. 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 USA! No Trump!
Jefferson and 2nd. East Jefferson and 2nd. They're organizing a violent aggressive. White supremacists are organizing an action where they are attempting to aggressively push into the non-violent peaceful protesters. You can see there's violent altercations. People are getting pushed into the street. There's violence. This is an aggressive act taken by the alt-right to aggressively push into peacefully assembling protesters. Now the police, there are 3 police officers descending. There's medics. We need medics. We need medics. Police are descending.
Stay here. For now, I can survey
There was a violent altercation, and the alt-right and white supremacists formed 2 lines and pushed aggressively into a wall of non-violent, peacefully assembling protesters. And an altercation ensued in which the white supremacists and alt-right individuals physically assaulted protesters, some of whom are wounded, and there's some of whom are bleeding from the head, some of whom were aggressively attacked by the white supremacist organization. And now police are coming to ensure injured folks have been.
They just jumped on me.
There's a medic attending to an injured member of the community. She's laying down on the street, bleeding from the head. The white supremacists fled.
Very good job.
A rescue squad is coming to help the injured, who are violently injured by the white supremacists. The police have requested that folks stay on the sidewalk. Medics are attending to people who were injured by aggressive white supremacists.
About 40 cops here, staying with the protesters, staying with us rather than following the fascists.
Can you describe what's happening?
Should I get on camera? The kind of came barreling through the street. When I looked over, someone with a Fox motorcycle hat was kicking a protester who laid on the ground. They just kind of, I don't know, there's a lot of shit like that going on.
And the police now have come.
And the police kind of walked behind them. They're like the cleanup crew, it seems like. 40 police are staying with the protesters who just got beat. I don't know how many followed the fascists, but way less than 40.
Yeah, right now tensions are settling. The white supremacists pushed through on the sidewalk. They formed two flanks of probably 10 to 15 individuals in each flank in two parallel lines in the middle of the street, and then pushed into the sidewalk where there was less room for a more consolidated setting for conflict, and pushed violently into individuals who were peacefully resisting and speaking out, using a microphone. It was aggressive, and a number of individuals were injured, some of whom were bleeding from the head, two of whom are bleeding from the head. The conflict then moved onto the church parking lot, at which you can see some of the conflict that ensued. It happened right here where the bushes are, and there was lots of shouting and sounds of an altercation. Right now the police are moving back to the designated area after not pursuing the white supremacists who were aggressing against the non-violent individuals who have come out to resist white supremacy. So really we see it's a courageous act to come out to defend, and people are doing so peacefully through words and through righteous actions to defend CVille against this kind of hate. And you can see how the white supremacists who have descended on this town for this weekend are the aggressors in the situation. Now the police are retreating back to East Jefferson Street and 2nd Street, back into the blocked off areas that they've previously designated. However, they were not present at the moment of the conflict and came later on. So that's a sense of where we're at. So it happened on 2nd Street Northeast and East Jefferson Street. Like I said, two groups of white supremacists, a large group of white supremacists, approximately 70 people, assembled and formed two flanking lines to aggressively push against the nonviolent, peaceful folks who were out speaking against their white supremacist hate. The conflict pushed through this area, at which point people were getting pushed up against the parking van here, the parking sign, no parking sign here. People were being kicked on the ground and violently attacked by the white supremacists who were there. And the conflict proceeded over here to move into the park where they had peacefully designated into this church parking lot, the Methodist church at the corner of East High Street and 2nd Street, at which point the white supremacists forced people onto the bushes, and some of whom were hit with flags and other physical objects. There was some sort of physical objects such as flags or batons. You can see the damage here where protesters were thrown against the ground, kicked, pushed, and really violently aggressed upon from the white supremacists. You can see splatters of blood from individuals who were attacked, some of whom were bleeding from the head, and there's a little patch of blood here on the sidewalk, and it proceeds over here.
This is private property.
This is, I've been told that this is private property at the Methodist church. So some of the altercation did move into private property that was designated as a peaceful zone. The clergy were encouraging them not to come through, and they saw the conflict ensue. So we're going to speak with some of the witnesses, some people who saw what happened, just in a moment.
I think just don't put them on camera until you ask first. Yeah, I think it's good.
Can you hold this real quick?
Yeah, especially the clergy.
Test. Reverend, I wonder if you can describe what happened. I want to, we were witnessing
precisely what happened.
By the way, I'm live streaming for Defend-Cville. It's a live feed that of a bunch of different organizations. Okay, great. So we are live. So if that's okay with you, I just want to let you know. So can you describe what happened?
From the portico at the front of the church, we saw a group of alt-right folks coming around through the streets. These streets are both closed by police, but they were coming through anyway. And so I came down to see what might be happening. By the time I got here, they were down the street, and some counter-protesters, I don't know of what sort, but they were together in the street here, and there was obviously a confrontation. They had a dead end behind them, and so the police were aware that they should not be here, but did not seem to know how to remove them at first, and then violence broke out, and enough assistance came that they were able to clear them out.
And so did you see when folks came over here onto this parking lot? Did you see what happened after the fact?
I did, yes. They were trying to clear people out, and we were trying to clear people back, and some of the alt-right folks were attacking one of the counter-protesters. We saw punches being thrown, and I saw a flagpole being used to beat the person as they fell into the bushes.
And so there was some violence, some physical, and you said who was doing
attacking a single person.
Okay, so the group that was in a line was pushing up against folks who were on the sidewalk. Is that right? Or I wonder if you can just describe what you saw. Who was pushing? I mean, you said like the kind of white supremacists were pushing. That group was attacking.
I think the white supremacists were at the back. There may have been others behind them, but there were some counter-protesters here in front of them, and so there was a push to come out. And I think the white supremacists were pushing against the counter-protesters as they came out, but doing so violently. And there was no space for them to come. We were trying to hold a peaceful line across the property just to keep any altercation from coming this way. So we backed up as they came through.
Right, and this, can you describe it? This is, I understand this is private property?
This is First United Methodist Church. This is their parking lot. The church is open as a safe space for people today, but the only entrance is through that door over there. And so when we saw that there was violence happening, we felt that we needed to remind them that this was not public property.
And what happened after there was an altercation here in which you said that a group of individuals were attacking one person who had fallen on the ground? What happened after that?
I saw medics come in, and I saw the alt-right folks begin to move off. There was another confrontation on the other side of the street. I didn't see a lot of detail of it. There may have been several instances, but they were beginning to file out, and so they just came through very belligerently and shouting and so forth as they were moving off in that direction.
And then at that point, the police came?
Yes, the police. We called for the police. and some reinforcements came. The officer station here just couldn't handle the crowd, obviously, so they waited until they had some backup, and then they came in and they dealt with the situation.
Okay, and then the white supremacists proceeded and exited.
I believe they
that.
went off that way, yes. Yeah.
And how do you feel witnessing all this?
I feel so sad that we are witnessing this in our city. I feel so sad that there is so much antipathy and violence in people, and yet I am hopeful because I see so many people coming out and saying that this is not what we are about, either as a city or as a nation, that we have entirely different values that we stand up for. And I'm actually relieved to see the stark contrast between those who are over there being so loud and everyone else who says this is not okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And just so I have your name.
It's Robert Lewis.
Okay. And this is your
No,
associate
actually,
with this church?
I serve Hinton Avenue United Methodist, which is that way, but I'm on duty here today.
Great. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Thank you. Okay, so things are quieting down. It's patient. It sounds like a number of the white supremacists moved towards Emancipation Park. There's a truck of folks getting out of a truck on the corner of North 2nd Street and East High Street. They are wearing helmets and wielding things that look like weapons. You can see someone there with a pair of long nunchucks that look like thick wood. Folks here, they're wearing a shirt called lynching. I can't read that. And so I'm going to try to get the license plates numbers of the GMC truck. Just dropped them off here, and they are wearing helmets and wielding. It looks like objects. You can see a staff there with a spike on it, and so they're crossing at 2nd and East High Street. You can see that they're carrying some objects that are attached to their flag. So they have actually latched on. If you can see, this gentleman here has attached an object that looks like it would be used for violent intent onto the base of his flag. And so that looks like a strategic tool in which to remove things from the flag if to use violent intent. And so people are wielding flag poles, and obviously there are shields, and the intent is clear. Folks have shields. And I'm still waiting to get the license plate number on that truck. Someone just said the Synagogue of Satan. There's a man holding a briefcase in a suit, and that truck is just leaving its Texas plates, and it is 6 Texas plates. There was a G6. Can you see that car that just turned down that next street? It just turned off. Yeah, it just turned off of the following street, East High Street and 3rd Street, and it turned down to make a U-turn. Here's some other cars who may have unloaded folks. License plate WYP 1600. I don't know about that. Oh. That's a different truck. We're not sure if that is a truck. that unloaded the folks who have just moved over going towards Justice Park. Just in case.
I think they were in those fans.
So Florida plates, Virginia plates, and they are walking again towards Justice Park. In Justice Park, some call it. And obviously, it's scary. These folks are carrying. These folks have helmets. They're carrying weapons. They're carrying objects that seem to be, intended for violence. Flagpoles, things attached to flagpoles, and so they have shields, gloves, homemade riot gear, protection mechanisms. So, it's scary seeing these people coming into town with such intense and just the violence that just happened. Seeing more people pouring in is a lot. So again, East High Street and 3rd Street is blocked off, as you can see. And it seems like some folks have gone down East High Street or 3rd Street, headed towards the downtown mall, in an attempt to what looks like encircle Emancipation Park. It looks like people have stopped at the end of 3rd Street and Market Street, and they're assembling near the library, headed towards Emancipation Park. And so you can hear chants coming from that group at the end of the street. And so it looks like they're going to proceed around Market Street back towards